Hello everyone, welcome to this channel. Today's talk will be about Rustem Pasha. It's going to be a good talk. The prior talks where I speak into the camera, prior 4 have been uploaded into the YouTube channel. Please look for them. The prior 4 uploads are not necessarily required listening prior to watching or listening to this upload today. This is upload number 5 in regards to Prince Mustafa or elements of Prince Mustafa in the conversation. The prior uploads, I mentioned in there that I'm trying hard to keep the talks between 20 and 30 minutes. I find that's a reasonable time to explain about a character from the past. But I've been noticing that I am missing out or not saying everything in the talks. Therefore, I'm thinking maybe the conversation needs to be a bit longer. I will not put a time limit. I won't try to complete the talk between the 20 and the 30-minute mark. I will continue speaking until I'm satisfied that I've covered all the areas that I made notes that I should. Again, welcome to this channel. I appreciate this. Welcome. This is going to be, as mentioned, talk number 5 about Prince Mustafa or elements of Prince Mustafa's life and characters during Prince Mustafa's life. And one of those was Rustem Pasha. Rustem Pasha. That's the talk for today. And again, welcome. My name is Ridvan. Welcome to this channel. So let's talk about Rustem Pasha. Who was he? Rustem Pasha was the Grand Vizier of the Ottoman Empire. Well, the Ottoman Empire was an empire that was in existence from the years 1290-ish to about 1923, or right prior to then. So it was in existence for about 600 years, and Rustem Pasha was the Grand Vizier, and the Grand Vizier means the Prime Minister. He was the second man in charge after the Sultan or the King. And during Rustem Pasha's Prime Minister or Grand Vizier duties, the Sultan was who? The Sultan was Sultan Suleyman. That's right. Rustem Pasha became the Grand Vizier around the year 1543-ish. Okay? 1543, that was about 10 years prior to Prince Mustafa being killed by the order of Sultan Suleyman. Grand Vizier Rustem Pasha was the second man in charge for a considerable amount of time prior to the death of Prince Mustafa. But let's go back a few years, right? Let's go back to how he lived, how he became, how he progressed through the army system. Rustem Pasha is said to be from Croatia area. It states in certain books that he was Bosnian, which I find that's not 100% correct. There's a bit of dispute there, because if you know the people from the Balkans, if you state that a certain person is from Bosnia and he's from Serbia or Croatia, they don't like that. There's a bit of struggle there between these countries in the Balkans. They like to be referred properly to the country that they're from, obviously, right? We all would like that. Therefore, Rustem Pasha, it is said he might be Bosnian, but that is not correct. He is Croatian. He was brought into the Ottoman Janissary army system at an early age, similar to many Ottoman officers. They were brought in from the neighboring countries, and they went through the army system and gradually increased their level of responsibility. The story is he was entered into the system at a very early age. The age is not given, so let's say between 8 and 10 years old. He was trained in the army. He learned 3 different languages on top of his language from his mother tongue. He learned to speak Ottoman Turkish and Persian. Persian language was very important during these years. And he learned to speak Arabic, right? That was also important because of the religion of Islam. He progressed along until the years 1539, okay, when he was about in his late 30s. He caught the eye of Sultan Suleyman, and he became one of the viziers. Viziers meaning one of the rulers under the Grand Vizier, meaning he was an assistant to the Prime Minister at an early age. So in his late 30s, he was one of the assistants to the Grand Vizier. In the year 1539, again right about those years, Rustem Pasha married who? That's a good question. Who did he marry? Well, Rustem Pasha married Sultan Suleyman's daughter. Her name was Mihrima. I'll repeat. Her name was Mihrima. Rustem Pasha, as stated, was 39 years old. He was born in the year 1500 exactly. So in the year 1539, he married Mihrima, who was only 17 years old at the time. I should just go back a little bit and explain how Rustam caught the eye of Sultan Suleyman. While it is said that Rustam was a very smart individual, he was the tutor for Suleiman's 2 younger sons. Those younger sons were Bayezid and Selim, who were obviously also the younger brothers of Mihrima. Therefore, Rustam used to come and go into the Topkapı Palace, which was the residence of Sultan Suleyman. Rustam not only caught the eye of Sultan Suleyman, but also Sultan Suleyman's wife. And who was that? That was Hürrem Sultan. Was either Polish or Ukrainian background. Therefore, she could speak with Rustem Pasha because they're from the Balkan areas of Eastern Europe. They understood each other. Therefore, they had an instant connection. With the help of Hürrem Sultan, Suleiman was given information about Rustam. And after, obviously, Rustam catching the eye of Sultan Suleyman, his career in the Janissary army accelerated quickly. Right before he married Mihrima Sultan, he was the governor of the city of Diyarbakır. Where is Diyarbakır? Diyarbakır is in eastern Turkey right now. That area there. It is very far away from the capital city of Istanbul, and that's where Rustam was the governor for quite a few years. It is said he was the governor of Diyarbakır city and that area for 3 years. A few years after, in the year, what did we say? 1543, he became the second man in charge of the Ottoman Empire. That's quick acceleration in the army, isn't it? He's in his early 40s, and now he's the prime minister of the Ottoman Empire with the landmass that it had. He was referred or called Damat Rustem Pasha. Damat meaning son-in-law Rustem Pasha. That's a nice name. He was referred to as the son-in-law. We talked about he was born in Croatia. He married Mihrima, who was 17 at the time, and he was the tutor for Hürrem's two young children. In the year 1553, that was the year where Prince Mustafa was, that he betrayed his Sultan father, which come forward 500 years to today's times, we're finding out that Prince Mustafa did not betray his Sultan father. Mustafa were Rustem Pasha, okay? Rustem Pasha's mother-in-law, Hürrem, and Rustem's wife, Mihrima. These three individuals wanted one of Hürrem's sons, to be the next sultan after Sultan Suleyman. I need to open up a bracket here. So why did they want one of Hürrem's sons to be the next ruler? Well, Prince Mustafa was not the son of Hürrem. Prince Mustafa's mother was Mahidevran. Okay? We talked briefly about Mahidevran in one of the uploads. Please look for those uploads. I will put the links in the description part of this video. Therefore, please take the time, listen to those. Let's close that bracket. Therefore, if Sultan Suleyman passed away and the next ruler being Prince Mustafa, and that was believed to be the next person that was going to take the throne, because he was the strongest candidate during these years. How many sons were in the running back in 1553? Let's count them. Okay, in the year 1553, when Sultan Suleyman was in his early 60s, there were the following sons of his that were in the running to be the next ruler of the Ottoman Empire. These were Prince Mustafa, the oldest son; Prince Selim, the second one. He was one of the sons of Hürrem. Prince Beyazıt, he was also one of the sons of Hürrem. And Prince Cihangir. Cihangir we can eliminate because he never wanted to be the next ruler. He had a humped back, and he had multiple ailments in his body that prevented him from being looked upon as a strong candidate as the next sultan. Therefore, he's eliminated from the race, from his own choosing, plus from the eyes of the others. He wasn't looked upon as the future ruler. The three candidates were, I'll repeat, Mustafa, Selim, and Beyazıt. The strongest candidate being Prince Mustafa. If he ascended to the throne, the other two, Selim and Beyazıt, would be what? I would hate to state this, but there was the fratricide practice back in these times. What is that? Let's open up a bracket about this. During those times, if you had multiple children, multiple sons running for the throne, and if one of them succeeded, it was permissible to kill the other sons. I know that sounds terrible in today's logic, but back then the reason why they did this was they wanted to preserve the empire. They didn't want any of the sons to start wars or breaking up the empire for their own benefit. So if there was wars, then the common people would suffer. Excuse me, I have to put my password in. Thank you. And so that was something that was in the minds of Hürrem, Mihrimah, and Grand Vizier Rustem Pasha. They were thinking if Mustafa became the next ruler, he would be able to execute the sons of Hürrem. They did not want that. Why? Because Rustem was married to Mihrimah, who was the daughter of Hürrem, and his brother-in-laws were who? Selim and Bayezid. They needed seriously to prevent Mustafa from becoming the next ruler of the Ottoman Empire. I believe that Mustafa was not going to kill his brothers. How do I know this? Because the relationship between Prince Mustafa and his brothers were very good. They got along really well. And what the talk was, if Mustafa became the next sultan, he was going to let them continue to be the governors of the locations that they were in. Meaning, each son, to learn how to rule the empire, was the governor of a certain district or a certain city. And therefore, that is my belief. It's up for a discussion whether you believe that Mustafa would actually kill them or not. I believe he would not have killed his brothers. Let me think here quickly. Yes, we were speaking in regards to the three parties, Rustam, Mihrimah, and Hürrem, trying to set up Mustafa and allow their son, one of their sons or brothers, to be the next ruler. So what did they do? Well, they documented false letters that Mustafa had written supposedly with the Safavid Empire, which is the Iranian Empire in the east. And in the letters, Mustafa was requesting help to dethrone Sultan Suleyman. We find out that these letters are false. When Sultan Suleyman learned about these letters, these dealings with the Safavids, he immediately sent for Mustafa, and in the meeting, and the date was October 6th, 1553, I believe it was a Tuesday afternoon, Mustafa entered the tent of Sultan Suleyman and he was executed. With the elimination of Mustafa, the path was open for one of Hürrem's sons to be the next ruler. Who set up Mustafa? It was Rustem Pasha. He had the bigger hand because he was the Grand Vizier, the Prime Minister of the empire. We talked about 1553, and upon the soldiers learning that Prince Mustafa was killed, they rioted. They did not like this because the favorite prince of the army and the common people was Prince Mustafa. Sultan Suleyman, seeing these riots, what did he do? Well, he fired Rustem Pasha. Rustem Pasha was lucky he didn't get killed also, but what happened was the next day, just the next day, so October 6th, the killing of Mustafa, the next day, October 7th, Rustem was demoted or fired from being the prime minister of the empire, and he was sent back to Istanbul. That was the year 1553. Now I want to discuss this just a tiny bit here. It is said that there was a deal between Suleiman and Rustem. The deal being that Suleiman sacrificed Rustam during the riots, and the discussion went along the lines that Rustam, I'm going to demote you from the prime minister position and I'll let you live since obviously you're the husband of my daughter. But Sultan Suleyman was not maybe thinking properly these times. Well, let's take out that maybe. He wasn't thinking properly because what did he do? He killed his own biological son. Therefore, he could have easily killed, had Rustam killed also. Anyway, Rustam was lucky, in my opinion, to still be alive, that Suleiman and Rustam made a deal to demote Rustam from prime minister position and to help him escape from the camp where the riots were. Okay, that's where the riots were when Prince Mustafa was killed. Rustam made his way to Istanbul. He lived as a common man. He was a rich common man. It is said that in the Ottoman Empire's entire history, that's 600 plus years history, Rustam was the richest prime minister of the empire. He accumulated many assets. So when he was demoted, he just lived a life in seclusion. He had a very big köşk. Köşk in Turkish, in English means a very big house in Üsküdar. Okay, Üsküdar is where? For those who have been to Istanbul or not, Üsküdar is on the Asian side of the city. Beşiktaş area, does that ring a bell? Beşiktaş area or Ortaköy area, that's the European side, okay? The other side is Üsküdar. That's another old area of Istanbul. Very nice area. For those who haven't seen it, I recommend, if you're ever in Istanbul, to sit on a ferry boat and go across to the other side. It's only about a 30-minute ferry boat ride, and you'll be surprised how nice of an area it is. It's another older area of Istanbul. Rustem Pasha became a common citizen in seclusion. He lived for 2 years, okay, from 1553 to 1555, when Sultan Suleyman made him the prime minister again. So think about that. Prince Mustafa died, killed in 1553 with the deceitful practices by the three parties I mentioned earlier. And then after 2 years, when things settled down, when people kind of forgot about the Prince Mustafa episode, Sultan Suleyman made his son-in-law the prime minister again. Rustem Pasha kept his, excuse me, I have to put my password in again. I apologize for this. So from 1555 to 1561, Rustem continued to be the second man in charge until his death. Now let's look at our notes here. Rustem passed away in the year 1561. He was 61 years old. Rustem Pasha, when he passed away, he had given the orders and the funds to construct the Rustem Pasha Mosque. The mosque is under his name, and he funded the mosque, but he did not live to see its completion. His wife Mihrima completed the mosque for him. Let me describe where the mosque is. You can Google it, Rustem Pasha Mosque. It is actually in a very touristy area. It is right in front of the Haliç water inlet. Haliç meaning the Golden Horn water inlet. It is a smaller mosque, and it is also right in front of the Suleymaniye Mosque, which Suleymaniye Mosque being Sultan Suleyman's mosque. Let me open up a bracket here. Whenever you go to Istanbul and you see these mosques, if you see a mosque with only one minaret, one of those towers, okay? When you see one, it means the mosque was built by a statesman, okay? But if you see a mosque with more than one, meaning 2, 3, 4, and then there's 6, that means those mosques are made by sultans. Isn't that interesting? So anything that has one, it was a rich person or a statesperson or a pasha. But anything over one, which is 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, those mosques are built in the memory of the sultans with their own funds. So Rustem Pasha Mosque is in the area called Tahtakale. Tahtakale, and you can Google it. It's a very nice mosque. Yours truly, I have been inside it a couple of times. It's a nicely made mosque with many ceramic tiles. It was built by Mimar Sinan. It is right in the middle of the tourist area. So if you were to ask people around there, they'll point out what mosque this is. But where is Rustem Pasha buried? Well, the answer was, as we stated previously, when the mosque was being constructed, he passed away, and Mihrima completed the mosque. When Rustem passed away, he was buried at the Shehzadeh Mosque, which is the Prince's Mosque. Also, Prince's Mosque is in an area, another touristy area. So we talked about the death of Rustem Pasha. He had an ailment. He passed away at the age of 61 in the year 1561. And I wanted to talk about his wealth, his accumulation of wealth. Rustem Pasha, at the time of his death, had the following items: 815 separate lands in the Rumeli area of Istanbul. Rumeli meaning the European side of Istanbul. That is a lot. 815. On the Anatolian side of Istanbul and the outskirts of Istanbul, he had 476 mills. He had 1,700 slaves, 2,900 war horses. He had 1,100 camels. He had 500 books, 5,000 kaftans. Kaftans were the heavy coat that the Ottoman bureaucrats wore. 130 kinds of armor and 860 gold embroidered swords. So those are just a few items. I don't want to, the list is pretty long. Those are some of the items that Rustem held at the time of his death. He was, like I said, he was the richest Grand Vizier of the Ottoman Empire. I'd like to read the following. Jean Chesneau, the secretary of the French ambassador, wrote about Rustem as such: "The Grand Vizier is a man of humble origin, who, thanks to his talent and will, worked his way up from nothing. He is an agreeable companion, engaging in your interest with his acute faculty of judgment. During the negotiations, he is calm and dispassionate, although in his views determined." That is something nice that was said by the French ambassador about Rustem Pasha. I wanted to end the talk here. This talk today was about Rustem Pasha. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it was useful. What these talks are, I touched upon this briefly in the other talks. I should have stated this at the beginning, but let's state it here. there is lots of information about some of these characters from the past in Turkish or Old Ottoman language. However, not much in English. The Western world does not particularly know these characters, and therefore I am trying to do these talks where I speak into the camera in English, trying to give some information about these characters from the past, these important characters from the past. At least I think they're important. They're not touched upon in the Western books or education books, but maybe maybe they should be in certain areas. And I'm just doing a small part here, trying to relay some of this information to the YouTube community and there beyond. Again, that's it. I'll leave it at that. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you made it this far, I appreciate it. Please like or dislike. Hit the like button, please. Hit the bell. You'll be notified of future uploads. That's important. And again, I keep saying this. Please comment if there is anything I've said here that you're not agreeable to. Please make the comment. We can always go back and change things. We can learn from each other. I am open to learning, and I am open to receiving criticism. Again, thank you. Thank you for watching, and have an awesome day. Thank you. Bye-bye.